What does she mean by that?
Maybe based on reaction.
Did I give her a reaction to make her feel?
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Legs, and I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. We have a lot to talk about because we had an eviction, we have a new HOH, new noms, and a veto competition. So as you know, we're gonna put it all together, hopefully in a bite-sized video. Let's jump into what's going on in this Big Brother house. So a few quick things I want to touch on from Thursday's show. I know I'm a little bit late. Number one, what was the editing last week? The editing of last week's whole entire week, all of the TV shows that came on, I just have no idea what the point CBS was trying to portray was. This idea that Vinny was this mastermind and brought this whole idea over to Mickey, and he was kind of the one that orchestrated this whole thing. It's absolute insanity. And if you've been watching my feed recaps or whoever you watch, you obviously know that that's not the case, but I just found it absolutely crazy that they gave pretty much a false narrative on the TV show. But, you know, that's, if you've been here for a while with Big Brother and you've been here for a while with feeds, you know, sometimes they like to do that every now and then. I guess it keeps things interesting. Now, let's get into the blockbuster. I didn't really understand Jimmy's strategy. I don't really understand why he chose to go in the order that he went. Maybe he messed up in the beginning and then he was just like, oh man. But at that point, he had really sank himself, and it was clear to me if Jimmy was on the block, he was going to go home. I already knew that. I found it very interesting that Rachel was really the one doing the heavy campaigning. Rachel was begging Ashley before the vote, and we get to the vote, and Ashley votes. Ashley votes, and then she votes wrong. And then she tries to run back into the room and change her vote. And Julie, you know, Julie was just fed up. It was given when the kids have been messing with you all day and they break your vase at the end of the day and you just have absolutely nothing to say because Julie was simply just no, nope. And as you know, Mickey was wondering who that second vote was to keep Jimmy. And you heard Mickey sort of talking to Ashley like, oh, well, I wonder who it was. I wonder who that second vote was. And that's one thing I very much noticed is the way that Mickey talks to Ashley. I personally don't like it. I don't think that you need to talk to her with that tone or talk to her like she's an idiot. Because let's be for real, none of y'all are significantly more game savvy or smart than the other Mickey girl. That HOH was a lot. So I don't really want to hear all that as if you are leagues better at this game than Ashley is. But really, that's all I have to say from the live show. I was glad to wrap that week up, girl. I don't know what that was with Mickey. Let's jump into the brand new week. So feeds are down for a while. They come back very late East Coast time. And we find out our new HOH is Ava. And Ava from the get, she already had a plan. She said Zach, Vinny, Morgan. So she's giving this plan to Mickey. Mickey is cool with it. Mickey even says, hey, I don't mind Morgan. If Morgan gets out, see ya. And I was like, oh, not you. Mickey is ruthless, but for her, she did definitely prefer the concept of backdooring Morgan if possible. So there was a little bit of talk, but Zach and Vinny, they were automatically, it was it. And it was definitely giving that Ava was like, I want to get these guys up. She kept saying things like that. They're big boys. They can handle it. You know what? They need to see the block. I know they can do it. It was just definitely very much give it like girl power type of thing. She knew she wanted to put those two guys up no matter what. So let's just jump into the next day. So not much of note happens in the morning, but we do come back. And again, there was a little bit of thought of who that third nomination was going to be, but we actually come back to the three nominations being Zach, Vinny, and Keanu. None other than Keanu. Keanu, the block star, saw the block yet again. So feeds come back and Zach is not happy at all. I feel like Vinny and Keanu, they were both like, well, we're here. kind of had an idea we're here. Now, that's not to say Vinny does not have some of sort of his anxious spiral sort of thing that he does, but I do feel like both of them were a little more level-headed, but Zach was offended. Zach was very, very put off by this, and he was genuinely shocked, which to me I found very interesting because, as we know, Zach still has that 10K veto that he can use at any point. But I just found it very interesting that he was under the impression that Ava was going to save him. I get it. Ava is a middle rider. I'm not going to pretend like Ava has not been sort of making each and every side think that they are comfortable with her. But Zach was going through all of this with Morgan, wondering why this happened, what was the possible reason, what he ever did to Ava. He was under the impression they were all cool in the alliance. So it was just a big shock to Zach. And he was genuinely very, very upset by it. The most upset of the three nominees. Keanu, he was like, I'm not even gonna lie. He goes up a little bit later to talk to Ava, and he's like, I know I'm up there. I know that I had a lot to do with some of the other stuff. So now we're on even playing field, the two of us. I get it. I'm not even gonna be mad. It's all cool. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna get myself off. We chill. And we hear Zach talk quite a bit throughout the day about this speech Ava supposedly gave. Ava even says a little bit of it too. She says that she called Vinny the mustache, whatever his last name is, something, Vinny the Lip, whatever his last name is, something about Zach being the least excited that she won HOH. And we kind of just hear this throughout the day, and Zach is just so puzzled because he's like, what is it? I don't understand. I was the least excited that she won HOH. I was the one that seemed the most skeptical. So why am I up? I don't know. It was very interesting. They make it sound like Ava gave some amazing speech, but I just simply have no clue yet until we see it on the episode. So at this point, Morgan is also like, we really got to start keeping things close to our chest. We need to talk more. We need to make sure that things are not leaking out over there. And it definitely puts up the red flags in Morgan's head about what is going on, as it should, Morgan, because baby girl, you are not safe either. You are not safe. So Ava does do her rounds of chats. The first person that's up there is Will.
He has to play the game. Vinny has to play the game.
Just that simple.
Yes.
Will's just gassing her up after the ceremony, telling her that she did a great job. And again, Ava's on her thing. They're big boys. They can handle it. You're a big boy. You can be on the block. You can win yourself off. And I don't know. I just found it very interesting. Even over these past 3 days, Ava's actually been in the HOH room. She's been chilling there. She's definitely been the kind of HOH that's been a little more hands off, if you will. I feel like she's made her nominations, but she's not really talking to a lot of people. So I don't know how that's going to actually go in terms of what's going on. She also says a lot of, I don't really care who gets off. I don't really care. It sounds deep down inside in there like her target is Vinny. But again, with someone like Ava, I feel like it's very easy for things to go either way. And Ava definitely seems to want to take a more like, you guys as the house, you figure it out. So as I said, Will was up there. Zach actually does come up to talk as well. And Ava's like, hide in the bathroom, hide in the bathroom, hide in the bathroom. So Will hides in the bathroom as Ava and Zach have a little conversation.
Because I thought
we were good too, but frankly, when I won HOH, you were nervous.
I was not nervous.
Zach once again is like, what is the reason? I don't get why I'm up. And Ava's like, oh man, you know, I just, and she did this with everybody. She's like, I just didn't know. And look, you're a great guy, Zach. I really like you. I think you're really cool, but I just didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure. And to be honest, I know that you can win yourself off. I know you got this. I know you're a strong guy. And Zach is literally just looking for some answers. He's like, so you put me up because I was the least excited. She's like, well, yeah, I just felt like when everything happened, you were a little bit skeptical and you were kind of questioning me. And for me, again, it's nothing personal, dude. I like you, dude. I love you, dude. Like, it's nothing personal. And I'm like, Ava. So Zach does eventually leave, and Ava's like, how'd I do? And Will's like, yeah, I think you did great, honestly. You did awesome. And honestly, this ain't summer camp no more. You know, they need to get up and they need to start to play. And I'm like, Will, you are one to be talking about things not being summer camp, but okay. Anyways, Vinny, Morgan, and Mickey, they are downstairs talking. And one thing to keep in mind is that this sort of starts a thing, these nominations, where some people start to become very skeptical of whether or not it was actually Ava that came up with these nominations. A lot of people seem to think that how dare it could be that. Oh my goodness, Ava likes, Vinny, likes Zach. How could it possibly be that Ava came up with these nominations? So in this conversation, Vinny, he's starting to spiral. He's starting to talk. He's starting to say things. And they sort of talk around in a circle, the three of them, but they eventually land on the fact that they think that Rachel was the one who actually put in Ava's head that she should do these nominations. That there's absolutely no way that Ava herself could have came up with these nominations. And instead, Ava's been putting the bug in her ear. Rachel's been putting the bug in her ear. Rachel's been putting the bug in her ear. So they really start to try to pin this all down on Rachel. Keanu even comes into the room and he's like, yeah, we called it, bro. We called it, We knew it was going to be the three of us. We called it. We saw it. And it just sort of starts all this buzzing in the house about Rachel being the culprit of these nominations, which I find to be very funny because Ava and Rachel, they have sort of talked. They had that thing last week early where they talked about potentially having a final two that never followed through on either side. For the record, they never solidified it. It is not named, but overall, it's not as if Ava and Rachel are constantly together. So I just find that to be very, very interesting that they came to that conclusion somehow, some way. So Reilly and Kat also sort of start talking about who they want to keep. And the long short of it is that they do genuinely want to keep Vinny if they can. However, if it is a Zach versus Keanu or Keanu versus anyone situation, they still want Keanu to go. But they definitely seem like they're leaning a little bit more in Vinny's direction. So definitely key votes. So definitely something to keep in mind. Rachel and Ava have a debrief, and once again, similar thing that Ava says to Rachel. Zach's a big guy. He can do it. He can win on the block no matter what. He's a big boy. He can handle it. But overall, the two of them do agree that they have each other's backs. Rachel even says if she wins the veto, she would take Ava off at some point. So again, they have this sort of final two, or at least like we are going to keep each other safe type of thing, though it is unnamed. I feel like they talk about it when they deem it to be relevant, but then they kind of ignore it overall. Also, Lauren and Zach have a debrief, and once again, Zach is just so irritated. The both of them, to be honest, they are so irritated that they feel that Rachel got into Ava's head. How dare she did that? How dare Rachel, the big bad orchestrator of everything, cause these two to supposedly put up Zach? So Mickey and Zach have a conversation, and again, Zach is going on about this same thing about how Rachel has went around and essentially gone into Ava's head, and Mickey is the first one to be like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it was Rachel that told Ava to put you up. I don't really feel like that's right. Zach actually continues on with it, and Mickey's like, I don't see that. Now, Mickey does admit in this conversation she doesn't really know between Zach and Vinny who is best for her game, so she's evaluating the situation as a whole. But again, Zach was he was so convinced that it was Rachel that did this whole thing. Vinny and Ava also have a conversation this night, and Vinny just goes into, again, how he struggles, how he's anxious, how socially it's hard for him. You know how Vinny gets. He starts to go into his whole life story, his struggles. He didn't think he was gonna be here. He didn't think he'd be able to handle a situation like this. And again, Ava's like, oh, dude, oh my God, oh, dude, I'm so sorry, Vinny. I like you, Vinny. I like you, Vinny. And like in the speech, remember I called you Vinny the lip. And he was like, wait, were you talking about my mustache or the fact that I talk a lot? And she was like, oh, no, the fact that you talk a lot. It was just such a useless conversation. I feel like Ava's one of those people where she makes her choice, you talk to her, she's not going to give you much. Which, again, for HOH, I don't know if it's great that this is the way that things are, but this is just the way that Ava was all of yesterday night. So Zach does debrief with Vinny and fill him in on some info. He fills him in on how they, aka the Mickey, Ava sort of side of things, think that the two of them are a duo. Also the fact that that side feels that they are playing the middle. And they just kind of go on and debrief about information. Zach does more ranting. Vinny does more like, oh my God, what? How, huh? What? How could they feel that way? It's ridiculous. And Mickey and Ava also have a conversation as well. And she sort of fills Ava in on the conversation that she had with Zach and how Zach was saying that these moves make her shady. They make her a target. Again, putting Zach up is such a shady move. It makes her such a target. And it's just putting such a big X on her back. But Mickey tries to pep up Ava and tell her, this is top 6 behavior, girl. This is top 6 behavior. Words are power. Okay, you did that this week. You did that. And it's just a lot of that. As I said, Ava, she was up in that room, so people had to go talk to her. Ava was not around most people. So let's jump into today. So, Veto players were chosen. Will, Kat, Zach, Vince, and Keanu were the players for today. And we had a little bit of chatter before the feeds just came back, and we had a Veto winner. Let's jump into it. So Zach and Morgan have another conversation about how Morgan is potentially a target. Morgan feels that people want to split up she and Vince. So now she's asking Zach all about if they're gonna backdoor her, if she should be worried. She feels like Vinny is very well liked by people, way more well liked than she is. So she is kind of concerned about what things will look like for her. I gotta keep it real with you, Morgan. I don't know what the week is going to look like for Morgan. I do think Morgan is in some danger. I do think if Morgan hits that block, even when you have your own ally, Mickey, who straight up said, hey, I don't mind voting her out. I do not feel that Morgan will have the numbers and that she will have the backing that other people have. So I do think if Morgan hits that block, she needs to be very, very concerned. I do agree with that. I think her read on that is solid. Reilly and Mickey have a little conversation and they talk all about Ava. Reilly is convinced that Ava is a super fan of this game, that she's playing amazingly, that they really need to keep their eyes out for Ava, that Ava is somebody who is just so great at this game. And once again, Mickey's like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really see Ava as a threat. I love Mickey. I will give Mickey this. I love watching conversations with her because she'll listen to these guys ramble and be so paranoid. And Mickey's like, I don't really see it. I don't really see that. Which, for the record, Ava being a super fan of this game is crazy. I don't know where Reilly got that Ava is a super fan of this game, but as far as I understand, I do not believe that to be the case. So at this point, Mickey does say that, look, for me personally, I would choose Ava over Vinny any day. I don't see her as this threat. Reilly keeps going and going and going, though, about how Ava is someone they really need to watch out for, and she is playing this game fantastically. Okay. Rachel and Ashley are also having a conversation, and Rachel is putting out there to Ashley that they kind of created a monster regarding Mickey. Rachel is definitely not feeling the best about Mickey and feels like Mickey is a little bit too overpowered. So again, Rachel's kind of putting those feelers out there with Ashley. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Now, the two of them do agree that they both want Keanu to stay if he is on the block because Keanu is a wild card for them. What would be the purpose of getting out Keanu? But they do talk about Vinny and how Vinny is a snake and how Vinny needs to go. And again, I hope through all of this, you guys see sides are really starting to become a lot more clearly defined. We have some people who want Vinny out. We have some people who want Vinny to stay. We have some people who want Keanu to stay. So there's a lot. And again, it's only Saturday, so I don't want to act like anything is set in stone. We know with this house, people literally change their minds minutes before people vote wrong and try to run back into the voting booth and change their DR and change their vote again. So don't take anything as set in stone, but this is just some of the conversations going on. But the feeds do go down for a while and they return. So feeds return and the winner is Catherine. So it sounds like it was the Yankee swap competition.
Guess what? Fix the shit. Yeah. We can't worry about tomorrow. If I worried about tomorrow, I'd be 5K, I'd have
And let me read here. So it sounds like Ava won $5,000. It sounds like Will won a trip to London and he swapped with Zach. And so Will apparently had made some kind of thing with Zach, but again, could be a little off on that. And it does sound like Keanu got the butt punishment, whatever that means. So Kat won the veto. So essentially, Will volunteered to go up on the block in place of Zach, I guess in exchange for getting the trip. Again, why are we volunteering ourselves to go on the block? Why are we doing this when we see what has happened week after week after week after? I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Will wants to be here. Will doesn't want to be here. Rachel also has a conversation with, was it Mickey? Rachel and Mickey have a conversation where Rachel straight up like, look, I either want to make it all the way or I want to get out before jury. I don't want to be in the jury house. We definitely have a couple of people in this house who are straight up like, get me out. And I feel like Will is one of them. Because if it's true that Will is really going to go up on the block in place of Zach, then I don't know what the heck is happening in this house. Mickey and Rachel do talk a little bit about who they want to go home, if it's Vinny versus Zach. For Rachel, she does not like Vinny. We already know that. We heard her say that earlier. They do both agree that they want Keanu to stay. Again, keep this in mind. Keanu's got numbers. But ideally, it sounds like the two of them would like Keanu and Zach to stay and for Vinny to get the boot. So we're gonna have to see what happens. I'm gonna have to keep watching. But current state of the house right now, Kat won the veto. Supposedly, Zach is going to be taken off by Kat and replaced with Will. And Will agreed to that, seemingly in exchange for Zach giving him the trip to London. So we're gonna keep watching, we're gonna see. But if you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in my next update. Bye.